Prithvi Shantirhantarikshagam Shantir Dyav Shantir Disha Shantiravantara Disha Shantiragni Shantir Vayu Shantiraditya Shantish Chandrama Shantir Nakshatrani Shantirapa Shantiroshadaya Shantir Vanaspataya Shantir Gau Shantiraja Shantirashva Shantir Purusha Shantir Brahma Shantir Brahmana Shantir Shantireva Shanti Shantirame Astu Shantihi. May there be peace on earth and in the sky. May there be peace in the water and in all directions. May there be peace in the plants, in the trees, and in animals. May there be peace in the hearts of all beings. May there be peace in everyone and in everything. Sarvetra sukhinas santu, sarve santu niramayaha, sarve bhadrani pashyantu, ma kaschit dukkha bhag bhavet, sarvastaratu durgani, Sarvo bhadrani pashyatu, sarvas sadbuddhimapnotu, sarvas sarvatra nandatu. May all be happy and healthy, may all see what is good, and may no one experience misery. May all overcome their obstacles and acquire good tendencies. May people everywhere find joy and fulfillment.
O face of bliss, kindly smile on us. We call on Thee and hunger for Thy grace. O face of bliss, shine upon our souls, and let Thy light fill us with Thy love. O face of bliss, reveal Thyself to us, and make us fit to spread Thy love to all. O face of bliss, may we long for Thee, and be Thou pleased to truly make us free. O face of bliss, kindly smile on us. We call on Thee and hunger for Thy grace. O face of bliss, shine upon our souls, and let Thy light fill us with Thy love. O face of bliss, reveal Thyself to us, and make us fit to spread Thy love to all. O
I have two readings this morning. The first is from A Manual for Living, Interpretations of Epictetus by Sharon LaBelle. Know what you can control and what you can't. Happiness and freedom begin with a clear understanding of one principle. Some things are within our control, and some things are not. It is only after you've faced up to this fundamental rule and learned to distinguish between what you can and cannot control that inner tranquility and outer effectiveness become possible. Within our control are our own opinions, aspirations, desires, and the things that repel us. These areas are rightly our concern because they are directly subject to our influence. We always have a choice about the content and character of our inner lives. Outside our control, however, are things things such as what kind of body we have, whether we're born into wealth or strike it rich, how we are regarded by others, and our status in society. We must remember that those things are external and therefore not our concern. Remember, the things that are within our power are naturally at our disposal, free from any restraint or hindrance. But those things outside our power are weak, dependent, or determined by the whims and actions of others. Remember, if you think you are to have free rein over things that are naturally beyond your control, or attempt to adopt the affairs of others as your own, your pursuits will be thwarted. Desire demands its own attainment. Our desires and aversions are mercurial rulers. They demand to be pleased. Desire commands us to run off and get what we want. Aversion insists that we must avoid the things that repel us. Typically, when we don't get what we want, we are disappointed. And when we get what we want, when we get what we don't want, we are distressed. If then, you avoid only those undesirable things that are contrary to your natural well-being and are within your control, you won't ever incur anything you truly don't want. However, if you try to avoid common inevitabilities such as sickness, death, or misfortune, over which you have no real control, you will make yourself and others around you suffer. Desire and aversion, though powerful, are but habits, and we can train ourselves to have better habits. Restrain the habit of being repelled by all those things that aren't within your control, and focus instead on combating the things within your powers that are not good for you. Do your best to rein in your desire, for if you desire something that isn't within your own control, disappointment will surely follow. Meanwhile, you will be neglecting the very things that are within your control that are worthy of desire. Of course, there are times when, for practical reasons, you must go after one thing or shun another, but do so with grace, finesse, and flexibility. My second reading is from Knowing the Knower by Swami Tyagananda. Discernment and desire. We have seen that desire is a direct result of ignorance. In order for me to want anything, I must either know that I lack it or have forgotten that I already have it. As Atman, I lack nothing. When I forget I'm the Atman, think Maya, my ignorance conjures up all sorts of things which I seem to lack, especially things without which life seems unbearable, hence the presence of desires in my heart. When I choose to use the power of discernment, my primary focus should be on the desirer, not on the desire, or on the process of desiring. Who is the desirer? Obviously, it is neither the body nor the mind. Both are material, and both are devoid of consciousness. I am not the desirer either, for I am the Atman. I lack nothing, and I need nothing. But something bizarre seems to happen. Maybe think Maya again. I forget who I am, and the forgetful me has now become the desirer. No longer am I free and infinite, but asleep and dreaming. I see myself as a human being in a world filled with innumerable other beings, all of whom are fighting for survival and hankering after a piece of the pie. Discernment can stop me from mindlessly joining the rat race. It can help me see things as they really are. And it can help me see me as who I really am. The more I remind myself of my true nature, the less identified I become with my body and mind. The more power I bring to focus on the real, the more does the dream begin to fade. The more I realize my fullness, the less do I desire anything. The more I remember I am the Atman, the less of a desirer I become. Eliminating the desire from the equation automatically derails the desiring process. It may not always be easy to dislodge the desire from the heart. It feels as if the desire has been around for a long time. Try evicting a stubborn tenement who lives in an apartment for many years, and you know how difficult it is. Evicting the desirer is infinitely more challenging than that. It is easier to apply discernment to the object of desire before applying it to the desirer. When it is viewed from the perspective of the Atman, desire is irrational. Its presence is quite understandable, though, when seen through the lens of a finite being with an acute sense of incompleteness. This seems to be inbuilt, so hardened that it feels as if we are biologically doomed to always want something or the other. Getting rid of desire feels like an impossible task. The next best thing to do then is to focus on what is being desired. Desires can be good or bad. To a spiritual seeker, a good desire is one which leads to a spiritual goal, and a bad desire is one which detracts from that goal. Through discernment, I can take a long, hard look at my desires, determine which ones are good, which ones are bad, keep the good ones, and let go of the bad ones. How do I determine which desires are good and which ones are bad? A simple test would be to ask the question, will this make me stronger physically, mentally, intellectually, spiritually? In one or more of all of these ways? If yes, the desire is good. If no, it is bad. My good desire leads to good actions, which purify my heart and make me stronger. In course of time, I become strong enough to apply discernment to my desirer identity, and am able to shed it with relative ease. Once that happens, it automatically eliminates even the good desires from my heart. This doesn't mean I will stop being or doing good. It simply means I will do good spontaneously and effortlessly, because it has become my second nature, and not because I desire to do so.
This is a reading from the book Sri Ramakrishna and His Divine Play, and it's a brief section that reflects on Ramakrishna's relationship with Girish Ghosh, who was a very well-known Bengali playwright and actor, and I might add, very interesting character. After he had visited the master a few times, Girish Chandra Ghosh completely surrendered to him one day and asked, "Sir, what shall I do from now on?" The master answered, "At a minimum, think of God in the morning and evening." After saying this, the master looked at Girish as if waiting for his reply. Girish thought sadly, "The type of work I do does not allow me to keep fixed hours for bathing, eating, or sleeping. I shall surely forget to remember God in the morning and evening. This is a difficult situation. If I disobey my guru's order, I will incur sin, which will cause me harm. So how can I make that promise? It is definitely wrong to fail to keep one's promise to a person in this world. How much worse will it be if I cannot keep my promise to a person whom I have accepted as my spiritual guide?" Girish was hesitant to express these thoughts. Again, he reflected, the master did not ask me to do a difficult task. If he had asked someone else to do this, that person would have gladly agreed to do it right away. What could Girish do? As he reflected on his own outgoing tendencies, he realized that it was beyond his capacity to practice even that little spiritual discipline daily. Again, as he examined his own nature, he felt suffocated at the mere thought of being bound forever to a particular vow or to a rule. He knew he would have no peace of mind until that rule was broken. This had happened all throughout his life. He had no problem doing good or bad according to his will, but the moment he felt that he was under any sort of compulsion to do any work, his mind would rebel and turn away from doing it. Realizing his own powerless and helpless condition, he humbly kept quiet, unable to say either, "I shall do so," or "I cannot." How could he shamelessly declare that he would not be able to perform such an easy task? And if he did admit this, how would the master and others react? They probably wouldn't understand his utterly helpless condition and might think, without expressing it, that his silence was mere pretension. Finding Girish silent, the master read his mind and said, "Well, if you cannot do that, then remember God before you eat and before you sleep." But Girish remained silent. He wondered how he could do even that. Some days he ate lunch at 10 a.m., some days at 5 p.m. The same irregularity continued with his dinner. Again, he was sometimes troubled with litigation. Then on that day, he would certainly forget to think of God. Alas, the master was asking him to do such a simple thing, and he was unable to agree to it. Girish was in an embarrassing situation, but he remained calm and silent, even though a tempest of anxiety, fear, and despondency was blowing through his mind. The master looked at Girish again and said to him with a smile, "So, you are unwilling to agree even to this. All right, give me your power of attorney." Immediately, the master went into ecstasy. There's a footnote right here. Power of attorney, this means to surrender responsibility for one's own welfare. When a person transfers the power or right to manage his or her worldly affairs to another, the latter makes all business transactions, gives receipts, writes letters, and signs all documents on that person's behalf. This was to Girish's liking. He felt greatly relieved. In addition, thinking of the master's infinite compassion, his heart swelled with overwhelming love and faith in him. Girish thought, "What a relief. I will not be trapped by the bondage of rules, which are like dreadful tigers to me. Now, whatever I do, I shall have firm faith that the master will save me somehow or other through his infinite divine power." This was the way Girish at the time understood the power of attorney, which meant surrendering all his responsibility to the master. He thought that he would not have to make any effort or give up anything or to practice spiritual disciplines. Rather, the master would use his own power to remove all worldly thoughts from his mind. Girish did not realize that he had willingly put a noose of love around his own neck that was 100 times stronger than the bondage of rules, which he considered unbearable. Neither did he understand completely, nor did he have the power to foresee that no matter what came into his life, good or bad, prame or blaze, joy or suffering, he would be able to do nothing but silently bear it. All other thoughts disappeared from his mind, and he felt only the infinite grace of Sri Ramakrishna. And his ego swelled 100-fold because of this relationship with Ramakrishna. He thought, "Let people say whatever they like about me. Let them look down on me. The master is mine, and in all circumstances. What else is needed? Of whom should I be afraid?" He did not know then that according to the devotional scripture, such an ego is a kind of spiritual practice that comes to a person as a result of great good fortune. However, Girish was now reassured. While he was eating, lying, or sitting, he had only one thought. Sri Ramakrishna has taken full responsibility for me. He could not realize that this thought was constantly making his mind meditate on Sri Ramakrishna and putting the Master's impression on every one of his actions and thoughts, changing him radically. He was very happy because he knew that Ramakrishna loved him and that he was more than his own.
Om Asatoma Satkamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Aviravirmayeti Rudrayatte Dakshinam Mukham Tenamam Pahi Nityam. May the Divine lead us from the unreal to the real, from darkness to light, from death to immortality. May the Divine Consciousness fill our hearts and protect us. Some time back, I was gifted this book titled simply Wait, The Art and Science of Delay. I've been reading that in the last few days, and I thought I would share with you just a couple of passages from this book. The section I'm going to read today is about procrastination, because we sometimes have a tendency to put things off, and that's as much true about our spiritual practices as about other things that we need to do. And I found several ideas in this book very worth reflecting and something that can be helpful to all of us. So here are some thoughts on procrastination. The author of this book is Frank Partnoy. His other books are titled Infectious Greed, The Match King. Is formerly an investment banker at Morgan Stanley, and presently he's one of the world's leading experts on market regulation and a frequent commentator on New York Times, NPR, etc. And he's the professor of law and finance at the University of San Diego. Not generally the kind of author you might find me being reading from at the Vedanta Center. So this is how it goes. Our society is obsessed with productivity and efficiency, and we despise procrastination. The early Americans imported the Earl of Chesterfield's admonition, no idleness, no laziness, no procrastination. Never put off till tomorrow what you can do today. They read Jonathan Edwards' sermon, Procrastination, or the Sin and Folly of Depending on Future Time. They built on the Puritan work ethic, which wasn't much fun, but became a major part of American culture. Over time, the admonitions from Chesterfield and Edwards seeped into everyday life, along with the biblical reference that Edwards peppered throughout his speech, especially from the Proverbs, which advises, "Boast not thyself of tomorrow, for thou knowest not what a day may bring forth." And then, beginning in the 1970s, the do-it-now anti-procrastination industry burst into the scene. Managers began following Peter Drucker, the consultant, who advised, first things first, second things not at all. Jane Burka and Lenora Yuen wrote a bestseller about how to avoid procrastinating, and their procrastination workshops became popular. Self-help guru Stephen Covey told us that highly effective people do first things first. David Allen coached us to get things done. Over time, we began to feel terribly guilty about procrastinating. Yet, we did it even more. The percentage of people who say they procrastinate often has increased sixfold since 1978. Students report spending over one-third of their time procrastinating. According to some studies, nearly 1 in 5 adults is a chronic procrastinator. Our focus on procrastination is relentless. America really has become a procrastination. But it wasn't always so. In ancient Egypt and Rome, procrastination was thought to be useful and wise. Only a handful of early writers, such as Cicero and, I don't know how to pronounce this word, Thucydides, some Greek thinker, I imagine. I'm sorry, I can't pronounce that name, admonished people not to delay. Until the mid-18th century, procrastination hating was a minority view. Many iconic figures have been inveterate procrastinators, from St. Augustine to Leonardo da Vinci to Duke Ellington to Agatha Christie to John Huston to Bill Clinton. Like many of my colleagues and friends, I tend to procrastinate, and I've always bristled at being told that was bad. To the extent I have creative breakthroughs, and they don't come often, it is because I put something off, not because I meet a deadline. Recent procrastination research suggests that I'm not alone. Studies find that although procrastination is problematic for some people, others can procrastinate but still get plenty done without stress, coping problems, or low self-esteem. And then later in that same chapter, he says, some people call procrastination a disease, a mental disorder related to attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, bipolar illness, obsessive compulsive disorder, sleep problems, and brain and thyroid anomalies. Not surprisingly, if procrastination is viewed so negatively, treatments will be designed to eradicate its presence and influence. But we don't necessarily need to take such a draconian approach. If our problems are the result of high discount rates, so that we make decisions that leave us worse off, then procrastination is an evil and we should make every effort to stop. But often, we use the term to describe behavior that is not so bad. Sometimes it is good to procrastinate. In 2005, Paul Graham, a computer programmer, investor, writer, and painter, wrote an essay called Good and Bad Procrastination. He opens by saying, "The most impressive people I know are all terrible procrastinators." So could it be that procrastination isn't always bad? Most people who write about procrastination write about how to cure it. But this is, strictly speaking, impossible. Graham notes that when we procrastinate, we don't work on something. However, he says, we are always not working on something. In fact, whatever we are doing, we are by definition not working on everything else. For Graham, the issue is not how to stop procrastinating, since we will always be not working on something, and thus procrastinating. Instead, a real challenge is to figure out how to procrastinate well, how to work on something that is more important than the something we are not working on. In thinking about procrastination, Graham says that what matters most is comparing what we are working on with what we are not working on. Francisco Guerrera, an editor at the Wall Street Journal, learned how to manage his time by procrastinating during college. Not only did he develop the ability to write quickly at the last minute, but he learned how to manage a list of priorities, a skill he uses constantly to this day. Now, most of it happens naturally, he says. I have a bunch of things I have to do. The list of what I have to do within a certain time sort of forms itself. The other stuff is procrastinated. For projects that require different amounts of time, he makes separate lists. He describes a technique he and many other journalists use. We have two sets of notebooks, a small one and a big one. The small one is for immediate day-to-day stories, the work we have to do right away. The big one is for big thoughts, features, and stories that have some time. There is an actual physical distinction between our immediate stories and the ones we can wait on. The physical form of two notebooks is our way of saying it's too overwhelming to do both at the same time. He bristles at the suggestion that there is something wrong with his behavior. He told me he is really just managing delay. This is not like traditional procrastination. It's a way we form our priorities. It's not that I'm delaying because I don't want to do something. I'm delaying because I cannot. It's out of necessity. As Leonard Bernstein said, to achieve great things, two things are needed: a plan and not quite enough time. If we aren't working at all, we are being slothful. If we are working on something unimportant, we are showing bad judgment. But if we are working on something important, then does it really make sense to judge us negatively for not working on something less important? If we put off errands because we are trying to cure cancer, are we really procrastinating? And if that is the meaning of procrastination, why is it so bad? For Paul Graham, procrastination is all about trade-offs. We are constantly trading off what we are doing now against what we might do in the future. As long as we are doing that in a reasonable way, it doesn't matter that we are putting some things off. Some things about procrastination, because in one form or other, it does show up in our own lives. And so this gives us a different perspective to reflect on our tendency. This is not in any way meant to justify being lazy or putting things off, but seeing, setting the priorities and focusing on what's important, even if some of the unimportant things which can wait for a longer time. So I found that this way of thinking of procrastination can be helpful, gives us a little bit different perspective if we have not thought about it this way. Om Jananim Saradam Devim Ramakrishnam Jagadgurum Padapadme Tayo Shritva Pranamami Muhur Muhuhum.